back to Between the Ribs with Jonathan Morris on Florida Man Radio.
One of the real problems with the military, and they're coming after our sperm. We're going to get that in just a second. I want to go through a couple more of these. Just pick out like two more real top ones, and then I want to go to this next story. You have them?
Yeah, I'm looking for two more good ones. Okay. Detect fentanyl and xylazine. This gives the DHS Science and Technology Directorate the authority to research and develop better equipment to detect dangerous illicit drugs like fentanyl and xylazine. Were they not already trying to do stuff like that? This just gives them more money in order to speed up the process or
Yes,
something?
actually, our second hypocritical.
I give up.
Our second hypocrisy story is going to talk about that. But do you know that how many people have overdosed? I don't have the number in front of me. I should have kept it. It's an insane number, like 25 in California and Arizona in the last month that have overdosed from these pressed pills. And I know this personally from somebody who close to our family, but outside their family. And they kind of, I'm not going to say any names because they kind of confided in me. But apparently on the street now, you can buy pressed pills. You can request them.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so a lot of people, and Pam Bondi is a great lady, but it's her fault. All this is her fault, okay? When Pam Bondi pulled her boots up tight and said, I'm going to end pill mills, and I'm going to stop the pain pill problem in Florida, and she shut down, and she gave pharmacies the power to override doctors. So if a doctor writes you a script for, let's say, oxycodone 30, and you go to the pharmacy and the pharmacy pulls up your report, because now everywhere you go medically, they know everything you're on. Mm-hmm. Like the other day, the doctor's like, hey, are you still taking this, this, and this? And I was like, no, that was back from my knee surgery. I haven't taken the Celebrex anti-inflammatory since knee surgery. But it's in my chart. They've seen everything you take, every prescription you ever get. All that is because of Pam Bondi. Now, if she really cared, she would have put the war on street drugs, because nobody is dying from pharmaceutical, well, some people may, but the majority of people are dying from street drugs, fentanyl, and fentanyl is an opioid. It shows up as an opioid. So the opioid pandemic was because of what Pam Bondi and the laws did. So they were taking people who have like chronic cancer, stage 4 cancer, 8 discs on their back are totally shattered. They can't get out of bed, right? They can't sleep without pain medicine. They're on pain management. It's called pain management. And that's a legit thing.
It is.
Right? I was on pain management for 10 years before I started my surgeries. I couldn't walk without my hydro in the morning. I had to have it every morning. I couldn't get out of bed without one. I didn't get high on them, but it took the edge off. And I was allowed to have, I got 180 a month. I was like 4 a day I was allowed to have. And I spaced them out throughout the day. And I worked, and I was able to work. I had to, Some days I may take 6. Some days I may only take 2. Like if it was a Sunday, I'm not doing anything, I may only take 2 all day. But on a Friday, I put in 20 hours. Maybe I took 6. But my doctor knew, I knew, right? So when she shut all this down, the pharmacy started reviewing cases and saying, nah, you don't need this anymore. And you had these people, old people too, that have been on medicine their entire life, or for like 30 years, and then they cut them off. And a cousin, an uncle, a nephew, a grandson is like, Grandma, I can help you. I know somebody who's got some stuff. And people turned to the street because they couldn't live without their pain medicine. So she created this monster. She really did. But they didn't go after the real bad guy. They went after doctors and what she called pill mills, pain management centers, and they shut down 75% of them in the state of Florida. Because of that supply and demand, it opened up this door for cartels to ramp up what they were doing. So when it first started happening, you had people that would take they don't really mess with the 10s, like the hydrocodones and the 10s. But on the street, kids call them Roxys and this and that, and there's all kind of different names. I'm not going to bore you with it. But they would take the 30s, the 20s, the higher dose pills, and they would break them apart. They would add some fentanyl. They would press them back together. And you knew if the 30 was smudged or different, or the M on the back looked a little more like a W, you knew that was a pressed pill. Okay. There was ways, if you had a little bit of street knowledge, you could tell. All right.
I do not.
So the people that were originally, I do, unfortunately. I did a lot of work for a lot of things. I've done a lot
we
of
have
things.
a couple more. I know we're probably going to go to the end of the hour on these because there's like 3 more right here that are really good.
Okay. All right. So
Chance to Compete Act. We talked
What
about
is
this
that?
for a minute. This was where federal agencies to use technical assessments to fill most positions. Requires federal agencies to use technical assessments to fill most positions unless otherwise deemed impractical. These assessments must be developed by subject matter experts within the hiring agency.
What?
More jobs, allowing candidates to demonstrate job-related skills and knowledge. This is amping up his job creation at
Right.
the very, very end.
to look at how many jobs look at all the jobs I created.
Look, I just created. Yeah. Okay. So so this sounds like this is all just stuff that should be on your resume.
Right.
You talk about with your boss when you go in for an interview. We don't need an agency like background checking you to do. That's already.
We don't need more government oversight
Right.
telling companies who they can and cannot hire based on what they want done. It's DEI. It's the new DEI. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the new woke DEI crap.
We have a Controlled Substance Act. Makes technical corrections to definitions included in the Controlled Substance Act. So, let's update some definitions. We need to do
so
that.
we have an act for an act defining what the act is telling us.
Now we have,
Nice.
some new definitions.
Well played, Joe Biden.
Beagle Brigade Act
Like the dogs, the beagles.
gives statutory power to the National Director Dog Training Center, which trains dogs to inspect passenger bags, cargo, mailed packages, and vehicles to detect pests and disease that could threaten the U.S. domestic ag and natural resources. Have you been worried about this before? I mean, you're a farmer.
No, we have ag agencies at every state line. Interstate Commerce Act, all right? We have if you're hauling something and you're in a box van or a trailer and
Weigh
you don't
stations.
No, not the weigh station, the ag stations. They're
Okay.
they're like a mile before the weigh station
Okay.
or a mile after, depending on which you're
Right,
going
which
north or
direction,
south.
right.
If you have an enclosed trailer or a rental truck, van, anything box, and you don't pull in there, they chase you down.
Good.
Okay, and you will get a ticket for running the ag station. Now, they don't mess with like little vans, minivans, you know what I mean? But they inspect every animal, every vegetable, every citrus. There has to be paperwork on them, where they came from, buy and sell, because just like canker disease did not come from Florida.
Okay, yeah,
It
right.
came from California. So the reason Florida has kind of got it somewhat under control is because they inspect all the citrus that comes in from other places now. So now we have one for the beagles, for the dogs.
Well, I mean, these are training the National Detector Dog Training Center. So they're training more dogs to
We need
do-
more dogs.
Okay. I mean, I assume the agricultural inspection
listen,
places
there's
are well
dogs.
taken care of.
There's dogs in every airport.
Yeah.
There's dogs at every ag station. There's dogs in every truck that says canine on the side of them. And they already have that. Now, you know what would have been cool?
But is it a Beagle Brigade?
Nope, it's not.
Oh.
You know what would have been cool if he cared? The hypocrisy. Do an act to enhance canine for local police departments. Do you know how many local police departments don't have a budget for a canine officer? So if something happens, they have to call in the county or the state or another agency to come in and assist with a canine?
I did not because I assumed they all had one.
No, it's expensive. Not every city has a canine. So if he really cared, he'd put him in the cities on the street. Continue.
We have the No Corruption Act. So if a member of Congress makes members of Congress who are convicted of a public corruption crime ineligible to receive retirement.
What? Say that again?
Members of Congress who are convicted of a public corruption crime, so
right.
they're being paid from the public to start with, but if they're involved in a public corruption crime, they're ineligible to receive their retirement, which, I mean, kind of makes sense. But, I mean, if there's corruption, shouldn't they, like, why are they there?
Right. And he didn't emphasize on government corruption.
Under prior law, the members would instead forego these payments only after a final conviction, such as when all other judicial appeals have been exhausted.
So that's the way to go after people. So he said here, in the old law, you had to go through the court system and you were innocent until proven guilty. And then once you were proven guilty, you lost your benefits and your package and your retirement. Now
they can just remove it. Oh, well, look, they're saving us money.
Now they're saying, oh, look, you created a public corruption sign. We don't have to let you get tried and processed. There's no due process. We're just going to axe your money. But that could go both ways. That could hurt them because, you know, the Democrats right now are trying to go after Gates. They're going after him with a heartbreak.
Right. I figured that was why.
I don't have all the information on the story, but when I heard it was a minor, it really made me angry. But when the facts came out, and even though it's disgusting for a grown man to have sex with an 18-year-old girl, if she was 18 and she was legal and he was paying her for money, that's between them. He wasn't.
If she was an adult.
If she was an adult and she's like, hey, you're paying for my college and you're my sugar daddy and you met me on a sugar daddy website, I don't know if that's against the law. I don't know how that works.